Hey, welcome to BS Friday. What is up, Mr. Mark Wille? How are you, my friend?
Happy BS Friday live to you, Dave Cooper live.
Yeah, Dave Cooper live with Mark Bare Naked Willie live. Hey, we got a great show today. I love shows where we talk about air and the quality of it and ventilation and all of the things that a lot of people just seem to overlook, or it's one of the last things they think of when they're building a house. Do I have hardwood floors or clean air?
It's
Right?
choices, right? Without fresh
That's right.
air, we have a sealed box, and that's a cooler, which is great for camping, but not to live in.
No, not at all. So I'm digging the glasses, my friend. I'm digging the T-stud hat. You know, there's so much going on. You're busy. I'm busy. We're all over the place. I'm in Montana. I'm finally in an area with internet markets. You never thought I went through withdrawals probably like an addict. I get it, right? You know, when you live and breathe it and all of a sudden you don't have it. But where are you at today, man? I love the background.
Yeah, we're in one of the recording rooms for U.S. engineered wood. So I have internet, Dave, but you created a ritual, right, of 6 days a week being live and doing it from the road. There is some anxiousness, right, to get that signal, and you have tremendous cell capabilities with the system you put up. But yeah, being detached, being unplugged, and being in that beautiful wooded environment of Montana, it certainly has its privileges, eh?
It really does have its privileges, you know, not only just from our point of view, but seeing this great country from coast to coast and visiting people and all the different manufacturing facilities from coast to coast and the people out doing the real work, doing the jobs, and just how much architecture changes every 50 miles. It does. It really just changes and the lifestyle changes. So very, very blessed to be able to do what we're doing live on the road. And we're heading to Washington State next, Mark. We're going to be going live from a couple truss plants out there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're picking back up. We're going to start showing what the West Coasters are doing. We're going to do West Coast against East Coast. What do you think?
Hey, both coasts are cool when it comes to offsite construction and those truss plants. I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. That's going to be an amazing thing, and I'll be sure to tune in.
Yeah. No, that's another one. I know who you're talking about. That's down south. This one's actually in Washington State, so we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So, Mark, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch today. And, Mark, we're going to only be live for an hour. We got an hour presentation for you. So if you have questions and comments, please put or say hello or say, hey, I'm tuning in from Brazil, Australia, New Mexico, California, wherever. Just say hello and we'll flash your name up on the screen and give you a shout out all of you. Right, Mark, we couldn't do what we do and we couldn't grow what we're growing as far as the advocacy for our side of the business, which we believe is the better way to build. What do you think, buddy?
I love it. It's either my signal right now or your signal is cutting out a few words, Dave. So
okay.
Just folks, please understand. Again, we're live. This is the fun of being live, and I think should I kick us off, Dave? You ready?
Yeah, definitely. Kick us off. And how is my audio sounding better now?
Yep, your voice matches your video. Perfect.
Love it.
So again, Dave's live in Montana, and we have a guest on today that's fresh off of a visit to Terrytown, New York. Why Terrytown, New York? Well, that's because October 12th through the 15th, there's a conference there. And that conference just popped up on the bottom of your screen from the magic of Jennifer Cooper. Thank you so much. And the group that you see there is PHIUS. So they're known as Passive House Institute US. They've been around for a very long time. And the word passive house is not a term that is unique just to homes, right? It's buildings of all shapes and sizes in all regions, in all continents. So we're going to get a deeper dive into that. But there's a new member of the team. I believe he's been there about a year that we're going to usher forward in a minute. And he took on this comprehensive addition to PHIUS. And that is adding products, and these products are now certified under PHIUS. And the team at PHIUS are research deep. They got some good engineer brains on their shoulders. And so I would like to introduce our audience and our friends to Michael Franco of PHIUS.
Michael, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you today?
I'm well. Thanks, guys, for having me.
No, hey, listen, thank you for being here. So, Mark, you know, it's funny. The introductions always get better, and I can tell when it's coming from the heart. And, you know, you guys are doing amazing things. And just listening to the way Mark did the intro for you is no surprise to me, because there's probably, outside of Mark, very few people as passionate as he is in this industry to build better, build quality, and build healthy. So I love it. Michael, we're going to ask you what we ask all of our guests. And if Mrs. Willie is joining us, please put a comment and tell us you're here, Mrs. Willie, because we may have a job for you today. Michael, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. And do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or Mrs. Willie will call your mother. And believe me, she will. But you only have 2 minutes to do it. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, I believe you on that. So I'll give as much info as I have, which I'm pretty sure I was born on a Friday. And then after that, it was kind of just not so smooth sailing. I think I was noisy, but, you know, that's fine. My brother was quiet, so it evens out. But yeah, I've been with PHIUS since October of 2020. Happy to be a part of the team. It's a really great group of people that work here, very passionate about what they do. And it's just a joy to be a part of you know, the organization. My background, I used to sell industrial supplies, MRO components. So I love digging into the details on what things can do, and it's been a real treat to sort of, you know, get my hands around as quickly as possible, kind of a crash course in the kind of components that go into to a passive building. So you know, it's the most of what I've been working on so far has been helping tighten up the window program that our senior scientist Graham Wright has come up with. Same thing with the ventilator program. It's Graham's brainchild, and I'm happy to usher it along as best I can. So I'm here to hopefully give some good background on it, answer any questions, and get everybody ready for when it's fully ready to roll out, and we can start getting some ventilators listed and certified.
Outstanding, outstanding. Let's talk about ventilators. Let's talk about exactly what does that mean, because Mark and I, we love talking to each other and talking our lingo and our language, but we are reaching out to the consumers and anybody else who will listen to us to help spread the word of how we build better. So, Michael, why don't you talk to us a little bit about ventilation in and of itself? Break it down if somebody said, well, what the heck are you talking about?
Right. So like Mark said, you know, coolers are great. Who doesn't love a good igloo or a good Yeti to, you know, keep your fish nice and fresh? But we're still alive, and we like to stay that way. So it's part of a healthy building is being able to breathe well, and that means pulling fresh air in when a building is so well insulated and sealed. You know, it's not like we can get away anymore with just cracking the window or having air get in however it wants to, because that sacrifices some control over how that air is, you know, the kind of energy that it takes to keep it comfortable, and the filtration to make sure that you can keep different particles and allergens at bay, which is really kind of what makes a building really, really nice to live in. So part of what you need to do with that is have a mechanical system, hopefully as small and appropriately sized as possible, to bring in that fresh air and make sure that you don't lose any energy while it's making that exchange, because we all know it costs money and resources to make that air comfortable. And so we are looking at what kind of units offer sort of the best solution for passive buildings, since it is a different type of building compared to what just conventional ventilation might call for. So what Graham wanted to do was make sure that we're giving a comprehensive look at what a ventilator should do if it's to perform properly under you know, the circumstances around passive building.
Yeah, for sure. Mark, you always talk about how buildings speak to you, right? You can smell it, you can see it, you can feel it, you can look at the walls and tell if something's not shaken out right, all the way down to the foundation. You know, and when we talk about passive house, we talk about a really tight building envelope. And when we talk about a tight building envelope, ventilation and air circulation becomes paramount in the success of that passive house design performing to the levels it needs to perform to, right, Mark?
Yeah, I love the word choices you use, Michael. They're very precise along that, right? So Dave echoes the envelope portion, and then you said very precisely appropriately sized systems when possible. So you're not finger pointing when from the obstacles where they're not possible,
Right.
but you're engaging people to think and plan and model according to the conditions that they have and means that they have. So it's just, to me, it's abundantly clear, but sometimes we have to go over these portions many times. And because of the way Passive House approaches the structures, they are sealed with a strategy. They are insulated with a strategy. And oftentimes you might find that there is no air conditioning that's added. And of course, there's a small amount of heating depending on the climate. But that component that we're talking about today is the fact that the buildings are being ventilated. So that fresh air is being moved around the space and the stale air is being evacuated. So and treated in the process as well. So I think we should dive in, Michael, because I'm literally at the edge of my seat. I've got to see this before, and
Sure. Yeah.
I love you're bringing up Graham. So many people in this industry have spoken, met, or worked with Graham on projects. So a big thumbs up to everything you do. And then your supporting team, Michael, the people that create specialty calculators that don't exist,
Yep.
the people that are truly human calculators, right? That just know what's happening. They all deserve a tremendous applause. So thanks always to what your team does for the rest of our industry.
There you
Thank
have
you.
it. So, Michael, I know you're gonna, if you got some stuff you're gonna show us. So we're gonna have a presentation. And again, if you are just joining us, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Please hit that like and share button right now. If you're not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, you can find all of the BS Fridays in order in our playlist from the very first show to this show, so you never have to miss anything. And with that said, if you are not following Michael Franco and what they are doing with PHIUS and this event coming up, you're wrong. Get on there and start following me now, but do it after the show. Don't go there now. We want to keep you here with us. And with that said, Michael, why don't we hop into your presentation, because I don't have a clue what ventilation certification means. What do you mean you're going to certify my ventilation? Get me an inspection? I know we get inspections on ventilation systems all the time, but something tells me this is different.
So yeah, it is a little different. We aren't going to be going and commissioning systems or anything like that. This is not PHIUS trying to come up into your project and start poking around. That's for our raters and verifiers to do. Though this is different. What we're going to be doing is taking a look at products and just kind of how they perform when looked at from a laboratory test perspective. So you may ask why bother with PHIUS certification, or as I like to say, why this isn't just another competing standard. So the obvious point is that PHIUS focuses on passive building applications. There's a lot of existing standards that do a really good job of evaluating products, but sometimes they just don't go quite far enough for passive building, and they might miss out on opportunities for some more granular data or some different categories for evaluation. And sometimes we would like to see a little bit more stringent requirements, just because passive building is supposed to be pushing the envelope literally and figuratively. So we aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. And there's a lot of existing standards that can be adapted or combined to get us that full picture that's necessary for looking at how a ventilator will perform when applied to a passive building. So the data from our certified projects is like a direct fit for designing the standards for this program. So we really wanted to look at what does a ventilator need to do and do well in order to actually fit well into a PHIUS project, because it is a very specific demand. So just to give a little bit of an overview, as far as like the kind of things that we'll be looking at, I have here a little snapshot of our our certificate mock-up. So this is this is not a real machine. This is not a real company, but just so that you can see, we would ask for data that about some information about the machines, and we would look at how they perform as far as thermal performance, electrical performance, how well they handle air quality and defrost, and then we would also, based on their recovery percentages, give our endorsement as to what climate zones that we think they would be really extra suitable for. So as you'll see, there would be green check marks for places where the unit is endorsed by us. And in this case, on a real certificate, you wouldn't see any X's, because that's what makes this a certification program rather than just a rating program like our window program, where we don't exclude products from being included. This is more of actually, we need a certain level of performance before we will stand behind it. A quick example of that is air quality. It's extremely important that we have clean air coming into the building. It's good to recover as much energy from that air as you can, but clean air is critical. So we require at least a MERV 8 filter on our units. Eventually, we'll be phasing in MERV 13. That aligns with Energy Star, and it's something that we'll need to see in order to actually have a unit listed with us. So just a quick, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just so the audience knows, the difference between a MERV 8 and a MERV 13, I have a feeling that a lot of people out there just go and buy a filter and they look at the cost, right, or the size, but there's different levels of filtration. What is your thoughts on that?
So there's a couple things to take into account with air filtration. One is obviously what kind of particles you can catch, and the other is how much energy it takes to pull the air through that filter. It's kind of like it like a straw. Like, maybe the wider the straw, the easier it is to pull something through it. But once you really get the weave down tighter, it can sometimes take more energy or require more out of the fan to pull everything through. And that then you play a delicate balance between air quality and how much power you use, which is important in a passive building, is to keep that power consumption low.
That's interesting, Mark, because, think about this. If you're out there listening to this, the right filter is so critical to the equipment that's using it, is what I'm hearing. If that equipment's having a hard time pulling that air through, it's just not the air quality that suffers. You're probably going to be replacing that equipment, in a shorter amount of time as well. Is that fair to say?
Well, if the filter's not changed, what happens, right? The equipment itself chokes, and that happens in all buildings. And then importantly, if the filter is not there, right, so you didn't go to the store and then you just took it out so your equipment would keep going, what is it delivering? Well, it's delivering particles of all sizes, and who knows what else. So it's the filter's there for a reason. We've all seen the filters that we put on our faces for various work conditions, right? And we know what it's like when that filter falls off and something's being sprayed or whatnot. So now imagine the volume going through your equipment for your space, not having a filter or having a clog filter. Danger, right? Let's just put it harshly so that we think about it correctly. And the equipment, the space, and the filter are all designed together for what? For us. So follow the directions.
I love it. So, Michael, let me know, how do you know where to start? I mean, do companies submit products to be certified? Like, how does it work? How does somebody become a certified PHIUS inspector? And how does a company get their products to a level that can be used in a PHIUS house to be certified? Sure.
So we offer that's most of actually what PHIUS does, besides maintaining the PHIUS building standard, is all of the training and education programs that we have for our CPHCs, the certified passive house consultants, and also the certified builders, and our raters and verifiers, which are the people who are on the ground doing the quality control and actually running those blower door tests and checking penetrations and doing everything that you need to do to make sure that what is on paper for that great passive building design is actually what's going on. So from the product certification side, we work with manufacturers who are interested in having their products listed, and we have them submit a a lot of data to us. We want laboratory test reports. We want manufacturer authored information that really goes into detail on how this unit performs under a variety of circumstances. So the two tests that we're looking for in order to submit a unit right now is CAN CSA C439 or AHRI 1060 or 1061 according to ASHRAE 84, plus some additional electrical performance calculations if you're choosing the AHRI path. So that's what we're looking for out of there is to evaluate, how the unit performs with regards to the amount of electricity that it uses at the max rated airflow, at a reference external static pressure, the standby power consumption, and for packaged units that come with fans, things like the filter face velocity at max airflow. We understand that some units are not prepackaged, and we have a way to address those sort of larger commercial or multifamily units. We understand not everything is going to be aimed at sort of single family building.
Got it. Let's, why don't we go to some, the comments are lit up, Mark. So why don't we go to some hellos and some comments? What do you guys think real quick? And then we'll keep jumping into this.
Sure.
Good. Say hola, hello, and bienvenidos to everyone.
Go ahead, Mark.
So, well, long time no talk, Andrew. This is great. Dave and we love Andrew, and he's probably one of the most active people since the very beginning. Thank you, brother. He says, staying alive seems like a major shared goal. I'm on board. Great topic as usual. Nice studio, Dave. Totally nice studio. And so Michael, as a background, so you understand who Andrew is and why he says that. He's working on an off-grid project, light impact to the earth, and it's being built with solar power. So all the batteries for the tools are solar, and most everything is built in a factory. So Andrew cares about the health and wellness, just like your crew. Love it. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, good to see you, Andrew. All right, Dr. Rebecca Reynolds is back in the house. What's up? I'm just gonna your new name is the Good Doctor. That's what we're going with, Dr. Reynolds, the Good Doctors. And hello, all. I'm not a builder by trade. I'm an educator. I was here last week, and now I'm addicted. I want to create safe and healthy schools. Well, we do as well. I think that's great. And Michael, if you got anything going on with the schools and all that, why don't you step in here and tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So I know we've got a couple programs in the work that our education programs manager, Josh Rudin, is going and working on. We're trying to get some PHIUS, education material, whether it's just stuff aimed at passive building in general, or trying to work in, what we do into things at the university level. So it's something we're looking into to try and make sure that we can have sort of that next generation ready to go. It's important to us to make sure that this keeps going forward.
Speaking of, Dave, your audio's off. Speaking of the Good Doctor.
I see we got two good doctors in the house. I love it. Go ahead, Mark. Dr. Brent Musson in the house. What's up?
Yeah, Dr. Brent, great to have you back. So I always love your comments and what you do and how you do it. So is there a system that directs replacement air only through the heat exchanger? And I believe you're referring to like an ERV or an HRV. And Dr. Brent, I would love to answer it, but when Michael's in the room, no one wants to hear from me. So go for it, Michael.
I think I might actually ask for your help on this, Mark, just because I've had a little bit of time to kind of get situated here, but I think our beards might be indicative of our experience level in the field. So I think you may be the black belt here, but to my knowledge, the whole, most of the air that's coming in does pass through that heat exchange core. And I don't know of anything offhand that, sometimes that may not be the case, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I like a very active chat, and Dr. Brent, while we're going through these comments, because this is a longer one, there's someone in the audience that we all know, Alexandre Degagne, and I'm sure he's already commenting as we speak. and there might be someone in the audience from the Serve crew as well. So speaking of this, I'll
Just happens to be there.
yeah. He says, hello, all. This is Alex from Minutair, who is one of our earliest presenters. Thank you for being here. Manufacturer of the all-in-one HVAC/D. What does D stands for? Well, it's dehumidification. Units bearing the highest fresh air heat recuperation ratings of the industry, certified by HVI. Smiley face.
I love it. I love it. Hey, real quick, Mark, let's do this. I know the answer, but you love to explain these things. The difference between an ERV and an HRV and how they're used. I mean, there's a difference, and there's an application for both of them. And Michael, if you know that answer too, you could hop on that.
Yeah, energy recovery ventilator and heat recovery ventilator. So you may not be going for that heat. And so that's not the system for you. There's arguments by different people of just what to use. It's an exciting argument to get to, especially after a presentation when you're having a couple pops together. But I got to tell you, the important thing is that we have recovery ventilation, right? And that we have ventilation. So oftentimes in the States and certainly in Canada, we deliver air through our heating and cooling units, and in the rest of the world, they have a heat, they have a cooling, and they have a ventilation. So this is the point of having organizations like PHIUS and product manufacturers like the Serve and the Minutair to address the needs that these buildings have. So each building is unique and its requirements are unique. So a little bit of knowledge is good, but a little bit of knowledge requires more. So that's why you go to an expert.
Love it. Next comment, please. Enrique Bueno, question. Hey, Enrique, thank you for joining us today. In commercial buildings, the norm has been to recirculate 70% of the indoor air and only supply 30% of fresh makeup air. Is it possible to have 100% balanced ventilation without recirculation in commercial and institutional buildings? He almost pulled a Henry Mickelberg on you with the notes, Mark. You'll be hanging there.
Enrique is a strong leader for our buildings in Vermont. I don't have that answer. I could tell you that our friends at PHIUS do, and that's why I always find smarter people in the room so that I don't misspeak. So Enrique, I think there's someone in the chat that's probably answering it, and there could be some non-PHIUS people answering it, like Mr. Scott Fardman. And so that answer will be given to you. And if I see the comments later that it's not, I will direct you to the right person. Enrique, thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah, and listen, we got a lot of comments and chat going back and forth. To make it easy for us, please put a Q in front of your question so we're not having to read through all the response chats, so we can get right to the question. All right, next comment, question, Jennifer. Dun, 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 dun. All right. I don't know.
I have a comment, Dave. So while Michael flashed his first slide up that we went through, I hope everyone noticed the dramatic change. I think it's an exciting change. So PHIUS had a very robust orange and yellow moniker for years that you've probably seen me wear the T-shirt many times. So they're going through a brand update right now, and they're going through a website update. So Michael's, because this is new launches, is already done to that new format. And as the months roll by, you'll see this orange and yellow fade to 2 shades of blue. It looks like beautiful moniker, and approaching the October 12th, I would guess that you're going to see a whole big splash of blue. And that's if the tech is on our side, all the folks creating that. So that's what the blue is. It's still PHIUS. It's just it's a fresh new look.
Yep.
Some fresh
PHIUS.
branding.
Yep. Same PHIUS, big goals.
So, all right, let's get back to the show. There's more comments and questions. Jen says, let's get to those a little bit later here. So, Mark, let's roll back into it. And if you're making comments and saying hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. We have people from all over the world that join our show. And again, if you don't know Michael Franco, you do now, and you best go hit that like and share button of his pages after our show, of course. Just saying, right, Mark?
Yep. Go for it, Michael. Love it.
Go for it. You're up, Michael.
All right. Sure thing. So I given that I just made the bold claim that, PHIUS isn't just another competing standard, some people might ask why, is PHIUS, why certify through us? Why not other existing standards? And I think there's a few big benefits that for manufacturers especially is that, we offer a source of trusted third-party verification that's aimed at passive building practitioners and the high performance market. So when it's got PHIUS behind it, you know that it's been really well evaluated for this specific purpose. The data that comes out of it is near plug and play for practitioners. It saves them a lot of time and effort spent on certain calculations to vet manufacturer claims. Not that we don't trust everybody, but it's important that you give something more than one look. Or it helps with adapting another third-party standard to passive building. We essentially do that for you. It also gets listed on the PHIUS website in our product database. It's going to be undergoing a little bit of a revamp. So as it looks now, like Mark said, with the yellow and the orange and green, that's going to start fading away into a much different looking, and I think easier to navigate and clean blue with all kinds of data ready to go. And the benefits to practitioners are essentially those, but in reverse. It's got everything that you could need to plug it into your project and not have to do a ton of legwork. It's trusted, it's verified, and it's something that is kind of just turnkey. It's all set, it's ready to go. And as people continue to get into the passive building market and it grows, a lot of the questions we get is, where do I find these products? Who even makes something like this? Well, your answer will be the PHIUS certified product database. It'll have all kinds of things listed, ready for you to start looking and seeing, plugging them into your project, see how it looks. And for manufacturers, it's a great way to capture a new market share. As people start to shift to this style of building, they're going to need to know what to use. And if they have your product listed there, ready to go, it's been looked at, and there's a lot larger chance that it's going to be appropriate for your application.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Mark, did you get yourself some coffee?
I got myself some coffee. I'm blessed by hearing presentations ahead of time because people are such good planners. So I got some coffee. I hope everyone else is drinking their coffee, enjoying Michael as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Michael, some of the things that touch on what you said and the value of becoming a certified member of this. Since it started and where it's going, how many people or how many certification professionals are there right now for this? And is it growing fast?
So I don't have the numbers on our certified professionals, but I do know that those are growing rapidly, especially the builders program. That class has been full. I took it back in January for some background, and even during COVID, even remotely, it was packed. It was at capacity, and it's looking great. We're doing our best to expand it, keep the ball rolling, and make sure we can still churn out more qualified professionals. Product certification is definitely full steam ahead. We're looking to start adding more windows to our database, and as soon as we can get this ventilation program fully off the ground, it is almost there. We're really looking forward to starting to certify some units. We've got a few manufacturers who are already well into the passive building market lined up, ready to go to be part of the first pilot. I know, as you would expect, one of those is Alex. So thank you, Alex, for being an early supporter of the program. We saw them at the Mechanical Summit, and there's a lot of interest there. So we know that people are gonna be lining up, ready to go, and we're excited about it.
Michael, I think that's a really good point. So the industry works with PHIUS, right? And so
that's right.
This is a codependency for success, because when you draw from experts, when you share it together, right? We all know that two heads are better than one, and so it's it's a big part of what Passive House is. It's an inclusive environment where uh, the stars really do shine, right? People really do come together. And I like the other part you brought up, Dave, is what are the numbers? And there's other staff at PHIUS that have that. But one of the amazing things that PHIUS did throughout the course of last year is shift their programming online. And so if you're going to be a CPHC, Certified Passive House Consultant, or a Certified Passive House builder, right? You can take those courses online and go through those trainings. And you also have a Certified Passive House, I believe it's called Verifier, right?
Yep. Raters and verifiers, and those are split between our single family and then the large residential and commercial. So forgive me as I forget which is which, and I don't want to misspeak, but I know the split is there.
Yeah,
and because it's very different evaluating a larger project versus a smaller one.
We had one of our earliest show presenters as well. That was Lindsay Elton, Dave, right? And she was one of the first with PHIUS to go through that program as well. And so it's that aligns with the third party grouping that works with the construction team and clients and works with PHIUS to at various stages through the build, right? And through the build planning process, right? So again, we always talk about the team begins early as possible. The team works together throughout cohesively. And at the end, they all wrap up that pretty package. And that package happens to be a building we live in or work in. And this is not just for new construction folks. This is inclusive of existing buildings. There's a robust amount of existing buildings of all sizes that have been done from universities to municipalities on down to small dwellings. So it's a completely inclusive group, and there's different data that works for all these, and it's an ongoing change. So as information comes online, they actually adapt the program based on data, based on research, to say what we're seeing, we need to make this adjustment, and it's not just a line that's set, because they're science driven, they're engineer driven. And so information helps create where they're going next.
Well, and it's all about the information sharing. And, I think what's great about what PHIUS is doing, and Mark, what you just said, is it is inclusive. There's a benefit for the contractors. There's a benefit for the certification partners that are part of this. And the ultimate benefit is to the consumer and the occupants of that building. And I think, as more and more science and data comes out on healthy air, healthier building envelopes, healthier materials that we're using to build, right? T-Stud's working on healthier thermal breaks, right? So you don't have to lay by the corner of your wall to get warm at night. All of these things coming together and us putting it out there for the consumer to really start asking for it, right? That's what we truly want. We want people to say, hey, I want a healthier home. I want a better home. And COVID, as bad as it is, has shined a light on how important healthy air is and healthy living. And especially since everybody pretty much got locked up in their own homes for a year for the most part. And some still are. This is all, to me, almost a perfect storm to say, listen, we can't keep doing it the way we've been doing it. It doesn't make sense. We can't be the only industry that does not change. It doesn't make sense, right? So enough of the nonsense. It's time to build better, build smarter, and build healthier. I love all of this stuff, man.
It moves on to churches and athletic facilities and hotels. We had a former athlete, Brandon Weiss, on, right? And he says very clearly, where you spend your sleeping time, right? Where you spend your recoup time. If that's a healthy environment, your performance will change. And name one person that has not gone into a locker room that needs better ventilation. I mean, good night, right? So we're asking our athletes many times to perform in conditions that the climate is not the best, the ventilation is not the best, and then they offset it with oversized units rather than reducing the energy needed for those units to perform effectively for the people. It's all for the people.
Yeah. Michael, so let's say I'm a mechanical contractor and I really want to, not from what I learned in trade school or being an apprentice. I really want to take it to the next level, like Minute Air, like all these folks that are out there doing what they do. And I really want to understand this. With the training programs that you have, are they online? Do I have to show up in person? How do I better myself and really take my skills as a mechanical contractor to that next level to offer this?
Absolutely. So we have a variety of programs available. You can register for them on the PHIUS website. That's PHIUS.org. You can head over there and check out the Certified Passive House Builder. That's definitely appropriate for anybody who's in the trades, even if you don't intend on, fully getting that CPHB. It's excellent background and very useful for context if you really want to understand the differences between building a conventional code building versus what it takes to actually execute a passive building properly. If you want to go for the real full deal, CPHC, it's extremely informative. You'll learn about the building science behind it, the math, the real nitty gritty. In addition to just how the building goes up, it's how it goes up from paper. So really starting at the base.
All right, so I have one other question, and then we're going to get back to comments and questions from the audience and wrap up. But we're struggling with bringing young people into the trades. The mechanical contractors are all aging out, in their 40s, 50s, and what have you. Using your program as a recruitment tool for them, to me, would be a very smart thing to do. So if you're a mechanical contractor, you say, listen, we're not just going to teach you how to do old school tin knocking. We're going to teach you how to use data science, make a healthier environment. And my guess is you're using some pretty sophisticated software to pull all this off as well, which I believe they would be interested in. Accurate?
Absolutely. So, it's what PHIUS does for their energy modeling is we're big into to WUFI passive, to LBNL therm and window, and really doing everything that we can to ensure that the building is modeled appropriately, so that before ground is even broken, that we know that it's going to perform as designed, because it's just super important to get it right before you start actually swinging any hammers or doing anything.
Well, I love it.
Michael, Dave is jumping up and down virtually right now because of what you just said, and
I am.
So to echo it, this is all decided before it's done, right? The data points are there. You're not putting in a furnace. You're not just putting in insulation. You're following a design. The whole team is. And those programs Michael brought up, this is for the developer. This is even for the real estate agents, so that you know that what these buildings are. It's for the appraisers. This is for all third-party people. And then it goes down the line. The general contractor, the contractors, the mechanical contractor, electrical contractor, plumbing contractor, because cohesively that structure performs when we all work together. And we did it before, but we did it without a plan, and it turned out how it turned out, right? So now there's a strategy, and we all want our craftsmanship to be at the highest level. We always want to leave something better than the way we found it. Let's face it, we're professional problem solvers that happen to have different tools. That tool might be this incredible red door with a big fan, and that tool might be a smoke stick, and that tool might be a squeegee, as Dave learned with his trainings to be an air boss. So these are all out there. I know this week you guys had a CPHC training, and there's an extensive calendar of more of those trainings. So the invitation is open. As Dave says, how do you get involved? You go to the website that scrolls on the ticker, and you'll be welcomed. you
Absolutely.
will really be welcomed.
You know, Mark, you said something that makes me smile there. How do you get involved? So a couple of years ago, I was in Las Vegas, IBS, and I've been doing some work with Homes for Our Troops, you know, and things of that nature. And Craig Morgan, the country singer, you know, I mean, I asked him, you know, because he's very involved with the troops, and it was Operation Finally Home, excuse me. And I said, how do you get involved? He just looked at me, and goes, get involved. It's not that hard. If you want to do it, the information's there. So just go out and look for it. That's what I'm hearing. And we're putting all the content here. If you missed the show, go read the show notes. We're going to have all this information in the show notes. You'll know how to get a hold of Michael and the programs and Mark and myself. And if you still can't find it, just reach out to us, ping us on social media, and we'll be able to get back to you. Well, Mark, we got about 10 minutes. So why don't we go to comments and questions? Go ahead, Mark.
LinkedIn user, I bet we know you, but we don't know your name and your face. That's okay.
Yeah, got to work on that.
Technology sometimes doesn't deliver that for various setting reasons.
Right.
So it says, what would you say makes the PHIUS ventilation certification superior to other programs such as HVI or AHRI? And seeing our side notes, that comment actually comes from Jason LaFleur, who's presenting next week on BS Friday Live. So,
hey, Jason, we need to fix that. We can't. No, none of this hiding your face stuff, man. We're gonna make you famous one way or the other. That's a LinkedIn user center setting. Just reach out to me. Just saying that third-party apps can't use your face, but we need your face. Come on.
There you go. Michael, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a great question because we are really not trying to just add another thing for people to chase for no real return. It's different because it is specifically through the lens of passive building. So sometimes, as with the window program, for example, we know, some of us may know, the NFRC does a great job of evaluating and rating a window's thermal performance. And it turns out on the back end, they do a lot of the same calculations that we do. What matters is how it's presented. So sometimes we need to give the data a little more as like ingredients rather than a finished dish, where, you know, you may have how a ventilator performs under, you know, certain test conditions. But what's important is that, you know, we have sort of the full view of what this would be like under the more stringent passive building requirements, because we demand a lot from our ventilation units when, you know, put in a really, for example, a very cold climate. It's not just as easy as, you know, any machine will do the job. So.
I love it.
Perfect. And we're glad to have Jason on next week. And there's some references that Michael made a few times in the show, and that's that has to do with Energy Star or ASHRAE. So both of those groups work on a weekly basis, daily basis with PHIUS, and many members of the PHIUS organization and board are on the committees for those groups as well. It's a very, again, cohesive, collaborative group, because we're dealing with front line, right? We're dealing with things that are evolving at an incredibly fast pace. And so that sharing is the checks and balances based on the hundreds of projects that are being censored and monitored today, and the thousands of projects that have been modeled and are due to be completed or such at various stages, right? Great. Perfect. Do we have other comments here, Dave? Jennifer? Temporary filters need to be evaluated. This is from Dale. Thank you, Dale. As we found out due to fires in recent years, several people increased the filters and upgraded filters to remove the smoke infiltration into the house. This is a short-term application, but could become a seasonal need. So our West Coast and our Northwest Coast and our friends in Australia experienced this at a tremendous level last year. And you're right. That's what all this is for. It's the right product, and it's a change of the right product, because let's face it, there's a lot of folks we were all on Zoom calls with last year around the world that could not open their windows. And so they relied on their great ventilation systems that were there for them. They wanted to open their windows, trust me, but the soot and smoke was unhealthy. So great note there, Dale. Thank you.
Looks like we've
where we're sitting in Montana right now is where the big wildfire was just happening, and you can see the smoldering smoke and all the char. So, you know, talking about this subject, I mean, it's very real for us coming in. I mean, it was just so much happening. So interesting that you said that. Perfect. All right, next comment, please. Erdem Kokil. I hope I said that right. Kokil? Erdem Kokil. If I didn't get it right, don't beat us up. We'll try our best. Let us know. Can CSA C439 is for residential units. AHRI 1060 for commercial applications is a testing for heat exchanger only, not for the equipment systems. How can we find out requirements other than AHR 1060 for commercial units? All right, we're getting into the real tech side of this here, but go ahead.
Sure. So the quick answer is that when we're looking at for a commercial application, because everything is a lot more bespoke than just this packaged unit that goes into a single family house, there's a limit to what we can reliably evaluate because the program would just balloon beyond our ability, quite frankly. So I would encourage you to send me an email. I'll get in touch with Graham, and I'll get back to you with more specific info on that.
Great, thank you for that question.
That's perfect. And there's big units out there, Ventacity, Swagon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All these folks are probably in the chat, and it's not about names, it's about solutions. So we're completely agnostic, and we want everyone to share their voice. So
that's right.
So Scott, this is great. What is this? 100,000%. 100,000%. That's quite a percentage. We need consumers to ask for high-performing buildings, healthier indoor environments, and clean energy. I think Scott meant clean renewable energy, but that's okay, bro.
Right. Well, we appreciate Alexander DeCagne back in the house. Scott Farman, consumers education is key because the moment they learn about Passive House and its benefits, 90% plus are willing to jump on board. All right, here's my soapbox, and then we're gonna have to get this closed out here in just a moment. But Scott and Matt, we'll get to that one in a second. But he's absolutely right, Mark. Even myself, Airboss training, right, with Etienne and his crew from SIGA. When I went there and I found out how simple it was if I just switched up my technique a little bit, and I paid a little bit more attention to what I'm doing, and I'm assuming this is the same with ventilation. In fact, I'm not assuming, I know, then it makes a huge impact on the quality of the envelope of the building or in the mechanical system itself. You know, it just comes down to being a true craftsman and really knowing your trade and taking each step to just be better and better than you were the day before. And that's and it's not a hard thing to do. It's not overwhelming. So a lot of people who saw the two questions before comments, with ASCI 1010 ... that makes it feel confusing. But when we break it down, you just need somebody that has the information, and that's where Michael and his team and the collaboration all come together to simplify this for you, so you do not get too far. You're feeling like it's too over your head. It's not. It's actually very simple. Sorry, go ahead. Next comment. All right.
And Enrique Bueno, thanks again, Scott and Jason. He agrees that the DOAS decoupled from supplemental heating and cooling is the answer. A DX coil on the DOAS can provide basic heating, cooling, dehumidification. So important. I'm glad you resound that out. The dehumidification, again, the buildings are closed, right? So think of a cooler. Michael, we didn't get to the two wonderful analogies you had on the phone about this and our shoes, can you give those analogies so Dave can light up with a big smile?
Yeah, I think that came from, when I was learning about the wall assemblies with our own Dan Whitmore, and he was talking about air barriers and vapor retarders, and talking about how more is not always better. Where you don't need necessarily the sandwich barriers, because then you trap moisture. It's kind of like shoes, where sometimes maybe you need one of those little stretch booties over your shoes so you don't track something in, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to pull a giant size 14 sneaker over your size 9, because more is not better. It's not necessarily the best solution.
Yeah, for sure.
We all love the stories from Dan Whitmore. He's probably one of the best educators around. Dave, we use this line almost every week. How much does a passive house cost? How much for a bag of groceries, right? It's Dan Whitmore 101.
Yep.
And it's Dan Whitmore 401. That same thing applies. So before the show, Michael and Dave and Jennifer Cooper and myself were talking, and the Coopers are from the Northeast, and they're familiar with Terrytown. And Jennifer said, make sure the audience knows that Terrytown in October is one of the destinations that you want to go to. Not just for the content of PHIUS, but for the beauty of the landscapes and regions. So act now, she says, and book it, because you don't want to miss the seasons that are going on there. Alexandre from Minutair has been there many times. I spoke to him this week, and he says that the facility chosen by PHIUS is incredible. Michael was just there the last 2 days. So please get with PHIUS for your registration. Get with the local supporting bed and breakfast and hotels to create your lodging. Ride your bike there, of course. That would be a great way to get to the conference. And next week, we have Jason LaFleur on, and Jason was on once before with Dave and I. So we can't wait to have him talk about the HVAC hybrids, the heat pumps, the hydrogen, and different ways to get at our buildings. He's from Gas Technology GTI, so I love it. And Michael, we're also going to have PHIUS back as the website gets unfolded, and as a pre-conference launch. Dave and I love to do the previews and gain awareness to the speakers and presenters, team, behind the scenes people that put on these shows and exhibit at these shows. So PHIUS will be back. And for anyone that's looking for an introduction or a question answered, all of us are here to continue that after the show. Michael, bless your heart. Much respect for this incredible program with the ventilation that's rolling out and the new programs up and coming with windows and components. I love it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me on, and that you guys do this. It's fantastic. Love the outreach.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you having you on, because without guests like you trying to take it to the next level, we wouldn't have this show and we wouldn't be able to continue doing what we do. And that is promoting others in this industry to take it to the next level. And with that said, each and every one of you out there can be doing what Mark and I do. We can be sharing the knowledge. We can all be working together. So don't be afraid to, take pictures, put it out there, hop on your video, have some fun with it. Send it to us. If you got something to say, send us. We'll always love to do a mashup of people's comments, and it's a good way to get some press on yourself out there to the industry, but it's also a great way for us to share all the knowledge. So with that said, listen, Michael, thank you so much. Mark, Bare Naked Willie, as always, thank you. Mark started early with his coffee, but we will be live tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern with Coffee with Dave right here on Dave Cooper Live, where we're going to talk about all the past shows, and we're going to start introducing the upcoming shows. And we have a lot of great upcoming shows here in the next week. We have actually Wednesday's Product Spotlight. We're going to show you a block system from Poland that takes no skilled labor. You can build a house in a day, and guess what? When you're done with the block, it can absorb right back into the soil, and it is certified. It's a really cool project, product, not a project. And on top of that, It doesn't hold mold. It doesn't hold moisture. There's some amazing things with this. So you're going to want to definitely tune in on Wednesday. All right. Listen, Mark already plugged us for Friday next week. Doctor, the good doctor, thank you. I'm glad you've been learning a lot. We really appreciate you. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Michael, don't go anywhere. We will come right back to you after the outro. And to everybody else out there, it's summertime. Put on your sunscreen, have a good time, and enjoy your Friday evening. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks, you two. And a thumbs up.